So, Greg, what are you drinking? Seemed like you were a huge fan.
Yeah. So it's lemon ginger seltzer from Trader Joe's. I love ginger, so I wanted to give this a shot. But it tastes like a fucking flavor of cough medicine or a cough drop, like a Halls. You know what I mean? Like that lemony gingery flavor. It's kind of really gross.
But without the healing mentholyptus.
Yeah.
Does mentholyptus really heal anything?
It used to help me a lot, but you got to get natural menthol.
Like from a Newport.
Yeah. Or Cool 100s. Yeah.
Distilling a Cool 100.
Just got to soak it in some alcohol overnight and then just wring it out. You know? Drink that juice.
Yeah.
Get you some cigarette juice. Dave's face.
Yeah. Oh. I'm also having trouble with the idea of bothering to put it into the cigarette only to extract it later and ruin the cigarette in the process.
Not the most efficient transport mechanism. Jesus Christ.
So how about you, Dave? What's the beverage?
I'm throwing a curveball here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drinking wine.
Whoa!
Sick. Hell yeah.
How fucking sophisticated.
No, it's really not.
It's actually Mad Dog 2020.
Right.
It is adjacent to the Mad Dog 2020, but yeah, it's like like the $10 bottle at the wine and spirit store.
Some Boone Farms.
Yeah, Manischewitz.
It is a Merlot, or at least it claims to be a Merlot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was drinking a lot of cider, and was like, let me try to mix this up. Let me see if I can find a wine that I like, because I just didn't like it for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, there's a million varieties. Let me give it a shot. We're in shelter in place. I might as well give it a shot. And I found a bunch that I like. So,
What do you like?
Merlot so far, a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, but like you like a drier, like kind of fruitier thing, not so sweet.
Yeah, it's just like cider. I like really dry wine. I don't know. Like I need to start, if I'm gonna do this, I need to start taking keeping notes and shit. Because now I'm just like drinking a bunch of different wine and then kind of forgetting which ones I like. Which is not good science. It's as an experiment. It's a terrible experiment. A couple friends of mine were telling me about the Pittsburgh wine mixer.
Oh, yeah?
And because I was like, I don't want to be a wine person. Sorry if any of our listeners are wine people and take this seriously and are sophisticated people. I'm not. And so I was mentioning, I'm like, it's a shame that I can't, like, there's not like a punk rock wine thing of like, here's wine, we like it, but we're not snobby about it. But I got the recommendation. I have not tried it yet because we're still, it's February. We're recording this in February, and we're still in hell. When that's done, it's one of the places I want to check out and see if learn a little bit more about this. Maybe even find some other stuff that I would like just as well.
The Apteka wine store is great for that too. I've been definitely into the natural wines. If I've been drinking anything, which I haven't been drinking much at all over quarantine, it's been some natural wine. I had a beer the other day and it gave me a headache like immediately. It's weird. I just can't. Haven't been drinking.
That's what wine does to me.
Oh yeah.
Like I love the taste of it, but anytime I've tried to get into it, it immediately gives me a headache. It's like instant hangover.
I mean, before I started this experiment, I associated wine with getting a hangover. And there's one quality of wine that, because I don't have the vocabulary, I don't know how to describe it. But I like as soon as I start drinking wine, every once in a while, it'll taste like battery acid to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's not one of the tasting notes. Like I can't say I want the wine that doesn't taste like battery acid. That doesn't mean anything. I don't know. Becoming a little bit more informed might help me be able to describe what it is I like better.
I wanted to try some natural wines. I was looking into it around Christmas time because Sam, my brother, mentioned he was trying to get into wine now instead of less beer because he decided it was too unhealthy for him. He wanted to drink something a little better for him. So I got him a bottle of natural wine. It was like $50. Which to me is expensive for a bottle of wine.
Oh,
You know
that's
what
a
I mean?
lot.
So I was like, I hope this is good stuff. And he said it was absolutely amazing, and it knocked him on his ass. He said it was strong.
Nice.
And then he followed that up with some stuff that he got on his own, which ended up being Dave Matthews brand. And he said it was so trash, and it didn't even get him drunk, but he still woke up with like an incredible hangover the next day. He
Oh
said he
my
doesn't
God.
understand how. So yeah, he's experienced both sides of the spectrum now. $50 natural and $5 garbage. So
This is the Dave Matthews of Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah.
Crash Into Me fame.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is that same Dave Matthews.
this is
Okay.
his. This is him marketing to soccer moms and Karens,
And your brother.
and my brother apparently, and me and my cousin keep giving him shit for it.
Why did he buy it?
We don't know, dude. That's what we asked. We're like, why? Like, I was like, I bought you a super expensive bottle so that you could like experience what good wine is. Like, it was one of the highest recommended in the store. They only had one bottle left. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't expect you to go out and buy $50 wine every day, but like, you know, I wanted you to see what's out there. You know what I mean? To taste what could be. And he went with the complete opposite end. And I was just like, you don't like Dave Matthews, man. So why the fuck would you buy his wine? He's like, I don't know. I figured he knew his shit. And I was like,
Name recognition is a powerful
guess.
thing.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Because it wasn't like Dave Matthews like snuck his wine in. Like Sam drank it, and at the bottom there's like a little note that says, "Ha, it's from Dave Matthews." Like,
And apparently he had never heard of the infamous Dave Matthews tour bus dumping 300 gallons of human waste on that tour boat in Chicago a few years back. So that I had to educate
think
him
I
on
knew
that
that.
story. Oh man.
Yeah.
So like Dave Matthews tour bus caravan decided to just empty out their fucking toilets while they were driving across a bridge in Chicago. Just do some nice illegal dumping, you know, right onto the bridge and into the river, because fuck everybody, right? Well, it just so happens that there was a fucking tour boat going under the bridge at the time of this, slathered this entire group of people in human waste that has been fermenting in Dave's tour buses for this entire tour. 300 gallons worth. Yeah, just terrible, terrible.
300 gallons worth of concert shits, too. Those aren't just regular
yeah.
shits. Those are tour shits.
Coke-fueled,
Oh.
McDonald's-filled dookies. Yeah, nah, nasty, nasty stuff.
I really hope your brother was drinking the wine as he heard this story.
Oh, that's exactly it. Yeah, me and
good,
me and my
yeah.
cousin were joking. We're like, does he add a little extra flavor to his wines? A little bit of Dave in each one? He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, just a little bit of that human waste. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I had to educate him. And, but yeah, fuck Dave Matthews.
Yeah, fuck Dave Matthews.
Again, we've talked about the idea of alienating our listeners. If you are someone
Oh,
who's
yeah.
a Dave Matthews fan, and you feel alienated, you can fuck right off.
Yeah, I think we're all fine with that. If sorry, but not sorry too.
Mm-mm. So Nick, what are you drinking?
Health Aid kombucha.
Ooh, back on the
Yeah.
kombucha kick, eh?
Back on the kombucha. I was just at the co-op getting some groceries. Picked up some kombucha. Yeah. Stomach was feeling a little garbage, so I've been trying to be like slightly healthier and not just
Still never tried it. It scares me. But
some of it's really bad and some
Yeah.
of it's really good though. There aren't too many brands I like, but this Health Aid one, it's not bad at all. It's definitely not like some of it can be like some natural wine where it's like drinking someone's bile basically.
yeah,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
too vinegary and stuff.
Yeah, it's just tastes like vomit, but if you find the right stuff, it's good. This is the bubbly rosé flavor.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Which
I did not know that was a variety you could get.
Yeah, they all kind of taste the same, but it's got a little
Oh,
like
okay.
cherry and a little rose in it. So it's kind of nice.
Well, hopefully it works on your stomach.
I hope so.
Well, here we are with our beverages.
Drink
Gathered, socially distanced gathered.
as
for
always.
Episode 29.
Mm-hmm.
It's been, what, 2 months since our last gathering?
Yeah, we're great with timely recording.
Yeah.
It feels like nothing has happened in these last 2 months. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
Trump stepped down calmly and peacefully.
Yeah, finally.
There was no drama. Nothing bad happened
no.
there. He accepted the election results and moved on, you know?
Graciously.
A+ country would vote again.
Joe Biden single-handedly defeated COVID. The pandemic's over.
But not in our hearts.
The economy was great. Yeah, the stock market, rock solid. Nothing weird happening there.
Bitcoin been blowing up, though.
Oh, dude. To the moon.
To the moon.
I love
But
the
then-
stonks.
But then down by 10% in a day, too. So it's all a roller coaster ride.
My GameStop's back up today, feeling that squeeze.
Oh.
I'm excited.
This is the weirdest world.
Yeah.
We all thought 2020 was the weirdest timeline. 2021 has been off to a great start in 2 months so far. Trying to one-up 2020.
Yeah, it's just a continuation. Like, the idea that it was somehow going to stop just because we've arbitrarily decided
Right.
it's a new year. No.
We got some huge news, though, in the modular world this week. Huge news. The module everyone has been waiting for years. Or the piece of gear, I should say. I don't want to just limit it to being a model. And I'm talking, of course, the Make Noise Strega.
Oh, you're coming out of the gate. It's hard.
Jesus. Swinging.
Wow.
Swinging a turd hammer wildly.
God damn it, Dave Matthews. Give him a minute.
2021. What are you going to do?
Fuck yeah. 2021, the year we can all pretend we're Alessandro Cortini. Finally.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever wanted.
So much warble.
So much warble and
Oh my God.
unstable filters. Woo.
Like it's at the bottom of the ocean, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, like, does it come with, like, Dramamine or something to overcome the motion sickness it's going to induce?
That's the magic right there. Unstable filter, unstable
It's actually
pitch.
it's a clone of the Surge Dramamine. Nobody knows that. Beat him to the punch.
It's based off of an old secret Buchla panel that was dosed in Dramamine.
Oh my god. But what it's like it's a dual oscillator through 3 delays, right? That's like kind of it.
Yeah, it's got, like, 3 sections. Like, apparently you can have external in, then there's, like, this, like, generic sort of sound generator section, and then there's the time and filter experiment at the end, which is where you control how much warble. All of that then gets influenced by the agitation function generator, which is this
It's all nonsense.
it basically modulates everything, and that's what gives you the sort of warble effect over everything.
It's a random LFO.
100% on
Like, just call it
everything.
what the fuck it is. It's
Yeah.
literally like it sounds like the smooth CV generator from the Wogglebug.
Probably.
And there's also, like, touchpads.
That's the magic.
Mm.
You got to put your essence into your music, Dave, if you want to sound like Cortini.
Yeah. If you're not touching metal, what the fuck are you doing?
If you're not putting your fingers on them touch plates coated in snot and urine and old skin flakes and saliva, like that is where the magic comes from, Dave.
I had intended to put something else on those touchpads.
Put those greasy
Hey.
fingers on those slick plates.
He's
Give
not
it a little
talking
feel.
fingers.
That's what Cortini doesn't tell you. See, he'll give you the little secret. He'll give you the Strega, but he doesn't let all his secrets out now.
Right.
You gotta drop your nuts on them plates, boys.
For one night, Dave was in 9 Inch Nails. Nobody knows that.
I mean, I assume at some point we're going to talk about beads. And there was that thing of, like, there was a lot of shitty beads videos. And I was like, well, there's going to be a good one eventually. I had faith in this. Watching those Strega videos, and I was like, oh, this is what this does. This is the highlight reel.
How much is it too? Like 600?
600.
I was gonna come out the gate with that. It's the price that kicks me in the ass the most.
If this was like a Korg $99 toy,
Yeah.
it would still be like, this probably isn't worth it.
No,
This is a full-throated, full-featured $600 piece of gear, and this is what it does. That's absurd.
I mean, granted, it's a contained synth voice.
Yeah.
That's cool, but yeah, for $600 rather. I feel like half that price tag is going to Cortini just because he put his name on it. Like, there's no reason for it to cost that much.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
And you got further than I did, Dave, with figuring out the sections. Like, I've tried multiple times. I feel like every time I start reading into it, it's just paragraph after paragraph of like marketing hype and confusing labels and shit, like mysterious alchemical experiment and stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about?
They're being deliberately obtuse.
Extremely.
But I think it's like an experiment, probably. They're probably like, what can we do in making these like one-off art piecey kind of things that doesn't even matter if you know what it does in a way, you know? Like,
People were buying it before they even knew what it was, but it's like, I'm not that type of person. Like, I need to have a basic understanding of what the fuck it is. And
Well, I wonder if it's not appealing to you. I wonder if it is appealing to someone who's like doesn't want to know.
Clearly, I'm not the
Right.
target audience here, but I was curious about it. I wanted to like it. Like, I didn't stick my nose up to it like the minute it was released. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I tuned in ahead of time to watch that release, the big reveal with Cortini and Sonic State. I don't know. Like, they went on and never really got to the point of what it was.
They were
Like,
doing a lot of like demo. They were doing a lot of like making sounds and then sort of gushing over that sound, and then which was really weird because Sonic State, I was a little bit surprised because normally he is like, I want to know the details. I want to
Exactly.
I want
Yeah.
to peel this thing apart and know everything about it.
that's why I watched
They're
Sonic State. Yeah.
Yeah. And to watch him just sit there and kind of go like, this is magical and wonderful was like kind of a disservice. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted you to ask the hard-hitting questions here,
Right.
and you're not.
Right. When it finally ended, I was like, well, okay, obviously that was just a marketing hype clip. Fine. You know, it was a big reveal trying to get people hyped up. Surely there will be more information to follow soon that makes more sense. There's none. Like, if you
No.
go on the Perfect Circuit page for it right now, like, it's literally like 8 paragraphs of weird, vague buzzwords and marketing hype. And then finally, you get to the section that says, so what is Strega? And then it continues on with more buzzwords. Like, I even quoted some of them. Special Cortini-style flavor, hiss, distortion, tape-like warble, murky echoes, huge evolving drones, and subtle instability. Okay, that tells me nothing about the gear itself. Like, these are sound design terms, sure. Huge evolving drone, okay. What is it, though? How do you generate a huge evolving drone with this thing? Like,
that's the thing. I don't think this even makes any sense without Cortini. Like, it's Cortini first, then the Strega product. Because if you just released this, like, you couldn't even explain it to people because they'd be like, okay, why'd you do that? And what the fuck is the point of this? I think, you know?
And they're hiding even more, too, because you look at the panel, and all of the functions and all of the parameters are weird, obtuse names. They're not helping you or, like we're going to make this a usable instrument by giving you reasonable parameters, and it's cryptic names and symbols, and it's almost like it's really just leaning into the, like, don't worry about it, we just want you to, like, move these knobs around, and eventually it's going to sound like a Cortini track.
Yeah. Let me quote another piece of their marketing hype from the Perfect Circuit page. It says, making equal use of science and magic to allow you to combine simple, common ingredients into something more than seems possible from its constituent parts. As such, it would feel odd to attempt to break it down and label it with traditional synthesis terms like oscillator, delay, wave shaper, etc. Why? Why would that be odd to label an instrument with proper labels that actually signify what it is so that people who make music can recognize it? Like, that's what every synthesizer is. It's a combination of certain components that make it an instrument. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't doing anything different in that regard.
Now you pop this thing open, there's a little super high Cortini Smurf in there. It doesn't even use like resistors. No, there's like a little Cortini Smurf in there getting blazed on DMT with your fucking audio signal.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes, you know, a voice and a synth. It's like all the components assembled together to form a cohesive instrument. If they want to be vague, that's fine. Like, if you want to do your standard weird make noise labels, okay, but at the very least, like, the overview or the page for the product should at least break it down, you know, into something that makes some sense. I mean, if fucking Vlad of Soma Labs can do it with a Pulsar 23, something that complex and, like, otherworldly, there's no reason in the world why Tony can't break down what the fuck a Strega is into a single paragraph of, like, it's this.
Do you think he's worried about ruining the mystique, though? Do you think that's the problem? Is like if I just explain what this is, it's not going to seem mystical and wonderful and strange.
I don't know. Like, who actually buys into that though? Like,
I think it's people that are not us. I think there are people that are like, this defies explanation. This is like, I think like if you are someone who wants to believe that this is something that is outside of a normal synthesizer, not telling you how it works is one of the ways to keep that mystique going.
This might not, be for us at all. This might be for Cortini fans that are like, oh shit, I'm such a big Cortini fan that this is like an expensive record box set that I'm buying. It just makes sounds.
That's kind of what I was getting as well, because like, most of the product page, before you even got to the so what is Strega section, there was like a mini biography of Cortini there, and so it's like, okay, and how much of Cortini is even in it? Like, aside from like advising them to use touch plates and things like that, like, this is clearly like another make noise instrument. It just has like his name on it. It's not like he engineered the thing. This is definitely, something that was created by Tony.
I mean, that's one of the many things that's not spelled out, is what was he involved with, how was, like, because they had like the one video is like Tony and Cortini like side by side, but like that was clearly just set up for the video. Like, it's not like they actually have footage of them whiteboarding this design, like, so it really, there's no way to know.
It's just weird to me, man. Like, when I buy an instrument, like, sure, hype it up, makes, like, Electron's notorious for that. They always had some weird, vague marketing videos, and it was like, okay, cool. But it was always immediately followed up by a technical demo and a layout of, like, what the fuck this thing is and what it does. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, so you got your hype there, and then you got your actual information. Like, that makes sense to me. Like, I don't think I've ever bought a piece of gear thinking that it was fucking magical. You know what I mean? Or that it would ever make me sound like insert artist name here. You know what I mean? Like, Cortini, he has a fucking full-blown studio of thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of gear and vintage synths. Like, you're never going to replicate that in a fucking $500 box that fits in the palm of your hands. Like, sorry.
But there's also the fact that it costs $600, and if this really does have just a couple of simple things behind the hood, people don't want to necessarily know that, oh, I'm paying $600 for $200 worth of parts that I could put together with these other modules. So
sure.
This may also just be a way to like not have people question the $600 price tag by not revealing just how little is actually behind it.
That's the thing that got me too, is like, they're like trying to make it sound like this is doing something completely, alchemical and magical, and like, so it's like, it's doing nothing that you can't do with any of the other make noise modules. You get a maths, you get a woggle bug, you get a filter in there, whatever one you want, you know what I mean, from their lineup, and a synth voice, or an oscillator, I should say. You can get there.
It's probably just like a shared system patch that he's like, this is my patch. Let's make it into a box, something like that.
At first, I thought I was genuinely like intrigued by it. I was like, oh, that could be a really cool live performance thing. You know what I mean? To like do some drones and things like that. I wouldn't have to break out my full rig. I wouldn't have to worry about my patch. It'd be self-contained. But to be honest, like all the weird, purposely vague and obscure descriptions and labels and stuff kind of like completely turned me off to wanting to look into it more.
And it seems like a little one note. I mean, it seems like you're always just landing back on that warble drone sound, which is cool.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, like if that's what you want.
I'm not paying $600 for something that really produces what appears to be a limited set of sounds. That's
bottom
too
line.
Much.
Yeah.
If it can do those sounds quickly and easily, cool. But yeah, I wanted to see what else it can do beyond that, and I haven't seen too much beyond that. Like Lightbath actually put out a demo the other day, and I was like, okay, he's probably going to do something that's not so Cortini-ish and do some interesting, ambient drones and stuff like that. But even still, like, that wasn't, his demos didn't really show it doing anything different. So yeah, my joke about Strega being the big news clearly wasn't the big news. Mutable Instruments Beads, the most anticipated module of the last 3-4 years, something like that.
Oh yeah.
When it was first announced, I think it was 2017 when Emily announced that she was starting it. So yeah, like 4 years pretty much. That's kind of cool. I honestly wasn't that like impatient about it or like hyped because I still really like my monsoons and my normal clouds. And I was like, yeah, clouds too. It'll probably have some new bells and whistles, but I can wait. I'm not going to be that blown away by it. But Emily proved me wrong. She proved why she is who she is.
Yeah, I likewise, I've got a pre-order in, and I had a pre-order in when it was, like right before the Divkid video, where it was just a lot of, really kind of, sorry if any of our listeners made these boring videos, but like, there's a lot of just really boring sort of clouds, the expected clouds, atmospheric drone, granular swells and stuff, and they sounded fine, but I'm like, yeah, I've got monsoon, I'm doing fine, I don't need this.
Yeah.
And then Ben tore into it, and at the end of that video, I was angry that I didn't have one. It is
Divkid knocked it out of the park. Yeah, he
totally
absolutely
sold me to like I'm trying not to spend money right now. I'm in the middle of a move and everything, and I was doing good at just keeping beads out of my mind until I watched the Divkid video, like all 45 minutes of it, and I was just like, fuck, I gotta get one of these. I gotta put in some overtime or do another on-call rotation or something to be able to get one of these as soon as possible. But
I didn't realize just how much of like this is the K-Tel comp of mutable instruments. Like with the no input, you get Platts wavetables, and the Attenuate randomizers use Marble's algorithms in them. So like there's just like all this great, amazing new stuff, and like just this cherry pick of hits from the last couple of years jammed into it. There was no part of that video where I was like, oh, that's something I'm not going to use.
I think it's almost the apex of mutable instruments. It's like the fitting end is like, holy shit.
It really bums me out to know that this is their final module. But it is an incredibly good high note to end on, in my opinion. Like since the release of Braids, like Mutable has like dominated my rigs. You know what I mean? Like I've always had more shit from them than any other manufacturer in my setup, and it's going to be weird to know that there's nothing new coming down the line from them. Kind of bums me out, but I don't know. With everything being open source, maybe people can still springboard off of the existing stuff.
They always do.
Yeah.
Instead of just downsizing them and making them more compact, maybe people can actually start expanding upon them, and
I think it's a good way too. Like, good luck making that smaller or improving on that too. It's almost like designed to be like, all right, you're not going to fuck with this, like what would you even, I don't know. It seems like perfect in a way.
They even have the attenuators on the CV inputs, which was like, something that Mutable arguably didn't necessarily have in the past. And some of those redesigns that was a key feature that was in a lot of them. And now nope, that's already on there.
Let's focus for a minute on those, because I think that's fucking brilliant. The Attenuate randomizers. That is fucking game changing. When I read the description of it, I was like, no. And then I kept reading and like it got better and better. Like at first I was like, yeah, okay, you can attenuate this way. If you turn clockwise, it's an attenuator. If you turn it counterclockwise, you're adding random CV voltages to that parameter. I was like, that's cool, but I do my own random stuff. I do my own generative patching. I was like, I don't really need onboard randomizing, until I read how it functions when you hit it with CV. And so when you hit it and it's in like, randomized mode, the positive voltages will increase the level of randomization within that. So using like some logic modules or attenuators, switches, things like that, you can start to do what I've tried to do with clouds, but required a lot more modules to do. You know what I mean? Like you can get generative sequences of like things shifting and going back to normal. You know what I mean? Like if you attenuate like a gate and you're hitting that shit, at the right sequence, and then you got things randomly changing to the rhythm and things like that. Like that's the type of shit I like to do with clouds, and now it's all right there under the hood. Like that takes a whole bunch of extra shit out of the equation. Like, you know what I mean? Like I used to use a bunch of marbles to do that type of thing while going through like a couple switches and my logic modules and things like that. You know what I mean? So it's like Emily not only thought of people like us who are taking clouds in that direction, but like she even fucking improved upon it. You know what I mean? I was like, that is some next level design shit right there. Like,
yeah. And it's also like, if you don't want to use that, if you want to just use it like clouds, or you want to use it in a completely different way, all of that's still available to you. You know, you could just use this as the most intense delay module you've ever bought. I mean, that's a weird usage. I don't know if I'd want to limit it, but like that is something you can do, and you can do it well.
That's the thing that I always thought was awesome about clouds to begin with. Like I was talking to Nick right before the beads stuff came out. I forget how we got on the conversation, but we were just talking about like how I don't have any effects aids in my rig still, but I use my multiple clouds in every patch in some way. Even if I'm not doing clouds-ish stuff, I know the module like the back of my hands, and I can utilize it, you know, in different ways to do like choruses or delays, you know, little things like that. Just mild pitch shifting here and there, you know what I mean? Just little subtle things. And yeah, like beads just seems like even more so you can do that type of like, you know, it's a Swiss Army knife of a processor, not just doing like granular or beat shifty, you know, beat stutter things. Like you can go in many directions with it if you want to familiarize yourself with it enough. And I just think that's awesome. You know, I like effects modules that can be like that. I've never been too into one trick effects. You know what I mean? I like ones that I can get really fucking experimental with. And clouds has always been my favorite. And now I'm just like, I can't wait to dig into a beads, you know, alongside my clouds.
I was gonna say, I love the simpler version of doing the quality too. Like it's a lot better than the way it is on current clouds. I love that cassette mode. That shit sounds good.
The feedback seems a little better implemented too. Not like it's real easy to go off the rails with the feedback and, you know, standard clouds. But the way they have that designed, it looks a little more interesting. And same with the pitch. Like if I read correctly, it actually has like an indentation when you're exactly one octave up. Which is really nice. Little things like that, like just little thoughtful things like that, just make the design that much better, in my opinion. It just streamlines all the things together that I like to do with clouds, and like puts a lot of that functionality under the hood already.
And then if you don't have anything in the input, after a couple of seconds, you get plates.
Yeah.
Like the buffer gets loaded with the same wavetables as plates. Like
that's so smart.
Yeah. What does that mean when you don't have inputs? Well, I'm going to give that a context. I'm going to give you something useful. Yeah. Even if you plug nothing into the inputs.
It takes it from being just an effects processor into a self-contained generative ecosystem.
Yeah.
That's like the only way I can think to describe it. Like I don't want to call it a synth voice because it's not technically, but it's like a fucking ecosystem of like capabilities, you know, like everything on there can feed and function with each other, and you don't need anything else plugged into it if you don't want. And it can just, you know what I mean? You can go into a generative world, you know, where everything's like organically interacting with each other on its own. Like that is some next level shit.
I was even kind of like, all right, I still have to come up with something to shit on. Like it's just not in my nature to be nice.
I was trying to as well. I
couldn't think of a single thing.
I could.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, what is it?
The name. I don't like the name. But I don't know why. Like after the more I've looked into this module, okay. Well, first let me say this. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but Emily posted a very interesting history of this module, like from its conception to release.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's awesome. It's on the forums. Yeah, it's like the entire timeline, every change that they made, everything that they approved, why things got set back over to like the last literally 4 years they've been working on this.
That's sick.
Yeah. It was cool to see all that information. And in that information is also the original name, which was Seeds. And I was like, that's brilliant. Like, you know what I mean? It's even there's even a parameter on there, you know, seed.
Yeah.
And I was like, and as soon as I saw the word seeds, I was like, that is so much more like organic and like fitting to me. And then Emily's notes literally was, yeah, I feel like seeds is a more organic name and fitting. I'm like, yeah, why didn't you go with that? But for reasons unknown, they went back to beads. And I just don't like that. Like when I hear beads, the first thing that jumps in my mind, because I'm a fucking pervert, is like anal beads.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that just pops in my head. I'm like,
same here.
But then, like, when I remove the perversion from my brain, I'm like, okay, yeah, don't go down that road. You're not shoving modules up your ass. Just think of like what a normal bead is, and it's just, I think of like, just a static object, just a piece of material. Whereas like seeds, you think of like something more organic, living, breathing, and the whole module itself feels like an ecosystem. So I'm like, I feel like they should have made something more in that direction with the name.
All right, Greg, I got a deal. So when you eventually do get one, just let me give it to me for a night. I will take a knife. I will scratch out beads, and I will scratch in seeds.
Awesome.
Free of charge.
Nice.
It's a good deal.
Just spray paint it on it or get a little label maker. Seeds.
I do have a label maker, and I could just do that for you as well. And then it would look like a Pittsburgh module.
Maybe when the inevitable clones get released, someone will call it seeds. But yeah, I just feel like that was a better suiting name. So a very minor and stupid complaint, but that was the only thing I could come up with that I have to complain about this thing so far.
Well, you win this round. You found something to complain about.
I knew I could.
I had faith in you. I knew you could do it too.
Hell yeah. Is there a ghost at your house, Dave, or is that the train?
Train.
It is the train.
That sounds very spooky. I love it too. Just sounds like screeching metal.
It's like a FFT quality to it a little bit, like a little like the way that stream tears it apart.
Oh, that's a nice mug, dude.
It is. It's a super nice mug, actually. It's like kind of small. It's like I drink tea out of this fucker all the time. It's awesome.
For the listeners who can't see Nick's awesome mug, it is
can't see my mug.
Sherman filter bank mug.
Sherman Compact 2 filter bank mug. You want to go into it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're also wearing the shirt.
I'm wearing the shirt. I've got the stickers right here because somebody wanted to see the stickers. Yeah, I've used 3 of them, I think.
Now, did it come with like a big oversized foam hand that you could also be like wearing?
That'd be so sick, though.
Yeah, it would.
I don't know if you've like seen the, Electronic Beats. They did the T-Mobile had that. They did the streaming shit, but they do a Sherman interview, and it's kind of fucking amazing. He's like a mix of like, oh god, this is gonna be terrible. He's like a mix of like Rick from Rick and Morty and like Ryan Zanopticon. It's like, sorry, Ryan. But yeah, he's like clearly like fucking mad audio scientist guy. He's just like listening to him talk about the Sherman is like intoxicating. But yeah, I don't even remember what triggered it. But there was one day, and I was like, oh, I saw the Compact 2 Sherman. And I was like, fuck, I needed a processor. Maybe I just gotten my dark matter back from it being fixed the second time, and was more into distortion, and like really wanted to try the Compact 2 because I forgot that there's like Sherman filter bank, which was the big ass wedge that's been around since like the 90s, which to be honest I should have gotten in the fucking 90s. That would have been a good choice. They did the 2, which was just updated circuitry, less noise, because people bitched about that, and then they did the Compact 2. Because it turned out like there's not much circuitry, and they're like, oh, people want something that's a little smaller, and it's like this beautiful form factor. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this thing out, and it's fucking magical in so many ways. To be honest, it is easily my favorite distortion processor because of all the different territories you can get into. It's like designed really well. Even I was laughing. I was like, oh, it's got like 3 MIDI throughs. Who fucking uses 3 MIDI throughs on this thing? Like, I fucking do, actually, because
really you end up utilizing the MIDI stuff.
Yeah, it makes you want to sit drum machines around it, and you need clocks into those drum machines, so there are all these MIDI throughs there. So it's like, okay, got me. Like, that makes total sense. It's so much shit to it. The only thing, I'll start with a con because there aren't many, is that I wish there would be CV control on most everything. There's only like really one CV control input, FM input, which can be audio rate or control rate, which is cool. It's weird how it's like this interlinked thing. Like there's so much that depends on the input distortion, which you get this thing and you think like, oh, it's a distortion box. Well, it distorts at the input, but everything else is like AM distortion, or like the filters and the way that can kind of push into some weird territories with like the biasing of the filters, which makes the filters kind of confusing at first. But long story short, like that input distortion depends, like that's what changes how the envelopes work that you use to modulate everything. Like those are interlinked, which is an interesting decision. You'd think there would be like a separate like threshold for how the envelope triggers on the input, but they just kind of bound in with the distortion. But it gives it like its Shermanness too, I think. And like you end up using, I love those envelopes and the way the AD and the ADSR envelopes can be triggered by that input, and the way you kind of use those as internal modulation sources for the filters, the way the AM can kind of play off of that ADSR too. You can have like the LFO is also right there next to the ADSR, and you can have that kind of work on the input triggers, or you can have it free run. There are different modes for it. So there's like a lot of thought put into that. Because at first I was like, I generally hate AM in things unless it's a modular. Like I don't use it as like an effect because I'm like, oh, it's cool, it's amplitude modulation. But on this, it lets you push it into its own distortion territories that you can then shape with the filters, and that's like just infinitely more interesting the way the signal path has it kind of routed in. The way you can
blend it, yeah.
You can blend it. The way you can sweep between parallel and serial distortion is fucking awesome. Like
yes.
All those chains, both of those chains are available, and you can have it half and half, and that's just like nothing really does that often, unless you're patching that in like a modular type environment. So I'm just looking at it right now. Like the filters, like they can be a little confusing at first, and you can get it to be silent. You're like, oh, I don't understand, but it's really the way the biasing works, and the way the biasing can let you make all these different filter shapes. Even in the manual, there's like a kind of diagram, which you've got to get a little familiar with to know like how it can create these different slopes and shit. But there's so much flavor in there. I love all the noise. I guess I'm glad that I have the one that has reduced noise, because it's like the perfect level of like this fucking grit that you can put in. There are all sorts of weird, like just a little subtle switch for like high boost, high frequency booster, and high frequency cut that can add like, it's almost like a different processor. Just with those two subtle like kind of changes that's different than me just changing an EQ on a mixer.
Yeah.
You can do like sensitivity. You can have it like on the trigger input, and that can trigger like some limiting of the sensitivity, or you can have a limiter on the sensitivity of the trigger input and how it responds to the input signal. The trigger input that relates to the envelope, that is. And then there's like an octave up switch. So there are two filters which should be gone into. The first filter is just kind of like a regular filter. The second filter is either always harmonically related to that first filter, or there's a free mode that's one of the filter positions where it can be whatever you set the frequency to. But otherwise, it's always going to be like at a certain harmonic interval of that first filter. And the way you can like gang that up with resonance and distortion, like there's so much play in what you can end up building with it. I'm still like kind of a noob with it, I feel like, sonically.
Do they share the same mode? Are they necessarily going to both be low pass or band pass?
They're identical. They're completely identical outside of that latching behavior that the second one has on the first one.
Okay.
Same layout, so they're like immediately very familiar. It's interesting. You can I think I mentioned this when I was talking about the crossover filter before, how you can, or maybe the Twin Peaks, how you can get to like areas where it's completely silent. You can do that. You'd be like, oh, you've just filtered everything out. You've high passed or low passed everything into silence. So you got to learn that. So that's the only, like, as I said, the real thing. But yeah, it's fucking awesome. Oh yeah, 2 of the fucking LEDs are super bright and obnoxious, and it fucking drives me insane. There are like,
you love bright LEDs.
I do.
Well, so I'm gonna offer you the same service I offered Greg earlier. I've got a knife. I'm just going to come over, I'm just going to stab at that LED until it's not quite so bright, or it doesn't work at all.
I've already got LED covers over them, but there are like 5 different types of LEDs. Like, it's some mad scientist shit. There are different sizes, too. Like, 2 of them are super big, and the rest of them are really small, and it's just like, okay, that's cool. Like, I don't know. Because I think they've always been like that. It's like a very particular design. The way the knobs are color-coded is very particular. And it does. It starts to like make sense. Like the filter shit's blue, or the.
I feel like
sick.
Yeah, I feel like the term that we were using previously for beads being in its own ecosystem can also apply to the Sherman for sure. It's like it's more than just an effects processor. It's more than just a filter. It's more than just a distortion. Everything within the system exists and feeds off of each other. You know what I mean? To the point where like it feels alive. Like that's definitely the thing that I like the most about the Sherman is that how everything interacted with each other and it feels like you're fucking with this organic instrument more so than just an effects processor.
It's all sweet spots too, for the most part.
Yeah.
It's hard to get it to kind of be that shitty. It's generally just fucking sick.
So I know you've been running like drums through it because you sent us videos that each sounded fucking astounding. What else have you used it with thus far?
Everything almost. Modular 303, 808,
wow.
909. Like it's all. I had to see in a way too, like how it would kind of really react. Like 808 in there is just like records. It's just like listening to classic records because you can tell like, oh, people have been doing this for a while. Like they're sweet spots with the toms and the way it overdrives, and the 808's already melty with the way its internal like summing of the sounds is, and then you get the Sherman to kind of melt it up a little more, and it's like that's the shit.
I loved my own personal love with it was just running like FM and digital shit through it. And like combining the nice, the alias digital sound going through that overdrive preamp and that filter is just like a magical combination in my opinion. It's alchemical.
It is.
It's alchemy, Nick.
It's like turning lead into gold.
Faster than light and harder.
Are you tempted to get a second one? Do you think that would be like a worthwhile purchase to like have them run through one another?
I would say like I had the analog heat for a while, and I sold that kind of or donated that rather. But like that was better for a full mix, whereas I feel like full mixes of audio really aren't good through the Sherman at all. It's mono for the first part, but like if you get too many instruments going on, it just turns into a mess. But it's great for individual sounds. Like I understand the quad Sherman now totally. I used to think that was like so fucking ridiculous and stupid, but it makes total sense. It makes as much sense as having 4 channels on a mix, like I don't know, it's just 4 good processors for individual sounds. Yeah, I could see having a double for sure.
That was one of my biggest complaints when I had mine was the fact that I wanted to run everything separately through it, and I just did not have enough Shermans, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Once you get to that point that you're running a quad Sherman, it's like maybe you should be looking into gear that you can run a whole mix through at that point. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, which is what I did. That's how I ended up with the overstayer. Like I sold my Sherman and went with the overstayer, and now after 2 years of having the overstayer now, I feel like I understand it a lot better, and I do love running whole mixes through it, but at the same time, there's a gap now where the Sherman still hasn't been fulfilled that I would like to process individual parts with. No.
We'll trade straight up. I'm game.
No.
Let's just say.
No, sir. But I feel like the two would work well together. I feel like my overstayer module channel wasn't a replacement for a Sherman. If anything, it would be a nice accompaniment to it.
It's the top of my gas list right now is the overstayer for sure.
Oh yeah.
This has made me really want one. It's not. That's not happening. But yeah, I really want one.
I think any of the overstayer stuff would be good. At this point, like just knowing the module channel now and seeing like its strengths and comparing it to other overstayer gear, I could definitely say like I wouldn't be opposed to having more overstayer gear in my rack. You know what I mean? Like there's times where I can just fuck around with the compressor for hours and hours. And I'm like, maybe I should just own one of their compressors. You know what I mean? For when I need to do just that. And it's like I'm like one of their Moz systems or whatever. Like
the 500 series shit looks sick as fuck. And that like NTO2A saturator or whatever, that thing looks fucking sick too.
So I feel like if you want to dive into overstayer, you don't necessarily need to go the channel route. Like I did, right. But I'm learning now that like I probably would have been super happy with any of their gear, and some of it is like half the price of the channel. So.
I want the channel though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did I.
It's so good. It's the best one, it seems. Like it's just fucking amazing. I don't
I've been having a blast with it still, dude. Like, it's endless fun for me playing with that fucking thing.
That being said, like the Sherman really scratches the itch for me. It's like, oh, I guess I'll like my tears will have to pour onto the Sherman for a while. You know, it's like, it's okay. Yeah, it's amazing though. I can't imagine getting rid of it. It's just like it's in the center. It's literally between the modular and the rhythm now, which is like the fucking holy space. You know, it's like it's just there. It's awesome.
Here's another segue, so don't fucking shit all over it. Have you hooked up? Have you hooked up this and the Hyperion in any sort of signal path?
Yeah, I have actually, but the Hyperion's right to the right of it. But right now there's a dedicated channel for the Sherman into that bug EQ, into the mixer. So that's like a separate mono path. But I have run that into the Hyperion, which will take line or Euro level very easily, which is fucking sick about it.
Yeah. Can it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it can handle line level, Euro level. It feels like one of the best Synth Tech designs I've ever used easily.
I was going to say, for our listeners' sake, who might not know what the Hyperion is, we're talking about the synthesis technology, Hyperion. What is the full name? Spectral processor? Is that what it is? Or
Hyperion effects processor.
Effects processor, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason I was thinking Spectral was in the name, but I guess not. What's the model of that? The
E520.
520.
It was originally a Kickstarter.
Yep. Yeah, we saw a prototype of it at KnobCon, and I managed to snag one. It's still really hard to get, but a few people got like 3 of them. I think Control Mod got like 3 of each type, and I managed to snag one one night, one of the black ones, and it's fucking incredible. It's my favorite effects processor. I feel like it's very similar editing style to the 352. It's the same menu system, basically, which I don't like on the 352. I don't like it on an oscillator. I think it's almost perfect for an effects processor, though.
So what's its quality? Like, what is it like?
It's the same, like, so there's like a soft knob driven screen, basically. You've got like 4 parameters. You've got like 4 CV inputs on those parameters. You've got a mix control left and right, and a feedback control left and right that are individual, which is interesting because I was like for a second like looking for the delay parameter on like the algorithm, and then I realized like, oh no, it's just you can use the feedback parameter just like you use on delay, but on any effect, and it'll delay the signal, which is super useful. And then there's the mix left and right. I mentioned that because it's one of the cons before I forget it in my mind, is that you can't control the feedback and the mix values with the knobs for left and right at the same time. You've got to do them individually unless you use CV that's multed across it. You can't like just turn the wet dry on the entire stereo signal perfectly, evenly, like you could on anything else. But it gives you that control, I guess, to change it. You have knobs for each, but just a slight thing.
I feel like it would make sense to have a feature to pair them.
Tie them.
Yeah. That's, I think, already been
in
requested.
The software at some point. Okay, cool.
And then the next row below that is the 4 CV inputs on all those controls. So you've got CV on the mix and on the feedback too, which is great. And you get it individually, so that could be a plus, right? You're not restricted to just having it be stereo. Because you can run things. Actually, okay, you can run dual mono stuff on here. Like you can run 2 effects in 2 of the mono slots, like having 2 mono processors, basically. So now that I think about it, that gives you full flexibility to use those.
So you can run one effect into the other, essentially.
Yeah, there are a few like little. There's an effect that lets you do that. Actually, I think.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna get back to the UI in a second, but there are 32 algorithms, which is something I also like. It's not like the Eventide H9 has like fucking hundreds of things it can do. I like that this is just 32 basically. Even the effects aid. I've decided I'm never updating my effects aids. I'm just going to use the original firmware forever, basically, because it's too much. I like that Paul limited this and that they chose this many. But for the interface, it's awesome because you get these 4 controls, and I think that plays well to this type of like virtual things on a screen and like maybe just a light menu behind it. The 352 is very menu divey. They made this so this is not menu divey at all. There are 2 extra parameter menus, and that's it. It's the same 2 for every one. The 352 is like a fucking operating system almost. The way like I don't know. There's lots of like levels you can go to. So I think for this it's perfect. It's like everything's up front. I can see all the parameters on a screen. Nothing's hidden like the H9, and I just get some abstraction. Know exactly what I'm editing. The screen's nice and it's great. I find I use it for bread and butter shit. As much as this is sold as some like not bread and butter and like just spectral and FFT stuff. I love using the delay because it's just so easy to edit the parameters and it's all right fucking there. I can CV control everything. It's like what you'd want in an effects processor for a modular. It's ideal. It sounds fucking incredible. It sounds like he wanted to like thumb his nose at the big guys for a bit, you know? Like, I think he wanted to shit on Eventide a little and be like, you think you're fucking dope? Like, here's like something that's fucking, I don't know. It sounds just as good as any of that shit that I've heard or anything.
I feel like
I don't know.
a lot of the Eventide stuff is known for like the black hole reverbs and shit like that. What would you say is like the strong point of the Hyperion? Like, does it have a flagship algorithm or are you just like all of them?
That's a good, like, I'm still finding out because there's stuff on there that I don't like that much. Like, spectral delay. I couldn't get to the same territories as the NI one, and so it was kind of like frustrating to me. And I wasn't getting much. I've gotten some stuff out of it, but more just like, oh, that's kind of like a subtle ring moddy thing that I don't know how to control yet. I don't know that ring mod isn't spectral and FFT. Forgive me. The pattern delay, like, you get like tap patterns, kind of similar to the Rainmaker in each channel. And you get CV control over the density of those patterns. And you can kind of like do some shit that's really crazy in the stereo field by like CV controlling the tap patterns individually in each like ear. That I find myself using that all the time. Even the clean delay, I just really like because it's like an easy delay to use. I think the kind of weird shimmer reverb is okay, but like kind of similar complaints that we've had about shimmer in the past where it's like, I don't know. There are only so many uses I can have for a shimmer algorithm, really.
Sure.
The format voter, like vocoder kind of formatty filter has been really fucking cool. And
yeah, I was
unique.
really interested in that one.
That one is really sick.
I love running me some beats through some format filters, dude.
Running beats through the format filter has been kind of gold. Like, I have more hopes for the vocoder because I was kind of hoping to do something like kind of like Fumana-ish or like some, spectral processing of like synth sounds and like almost like the bark filter from Verbose and getting kind of some of those sounds. But I'm not getting like, I don't know. I don't have it tuned right yet with the carrier and the modulator for the vocoder shit to understand it well enough.
So it sounds like you've got a lot left to explore with it. Like, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, you can spend a lot of time just on each algorithm. It feels like one of the algorithms feels like a legit instrument that would be like, okay, if this only did this, it would still be pretty. I wouldn't pay this much money maybe, but it sounds great and there's so much depth. Like, I've just been using those like 3 or 4 delays a lot, to be honest. What else is there? There's like a weird like spectrally kind of looper thing, but what it does confuses me and like makes me think like just of how I would do it in the 301, like scanning through like kind of a sample loop. There's looper stuff in there that I haven't really fucked with that much yet because I don't generally use loopers and pedals. But it seems like a nice setup the way it's done. Oh yeah, like there's a sync input for most of the effects, so you can like tempo sync really easily all the effects that have that. Feedback on everything is definitely nice, and being able to CV that's pretty dope. But yeah, the overall sound quality, I'm still learning what algorithms. I don't even know like if I have like so much as like a filter yet. Favorite, sorry.
Now, has he been making updates to it? I as I don't have one, and it's kind of not something I'm going to get anytime soon because of how hard they are to find. I haven't been paying attention. Like, is this something that he's continuing to update?
No, the effects were updated last November 15th, 2020. So this is not anything that's getting like effects aid level of like, every couple weeks there's like a new algorithm. I think they're trying to get these 32 down. Like, they're listening to user requests still right now. So I think this is going to be like a slow rollout, if anything, of some of this stuff. I'm looking through some of the algorithms here just to see if anything jogs my memory. Oh shit! The Deflector Shield. It's just
I was
in
about
there.
to ask for that. I was just gonna say, like, would Paul actually put some of like his other algorithms from other modules in this thing?
The Deflector Shield is exactly in there, and it's fucking
That's awesome.
amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
I've been using that a lot actually, and I'm almost surprised because like there's only a couple $100 difference between the two. It almost doesn't make sense to buy a Deflector Shield if you spend like $200 or $300 more and you get that plus all that. Like it's fucking.
I was kind of thinking
crazy.
he wouldn't do it for that reason. Like he would want to encourage people to buy the individual modules. That's pretty awesome that he's putting it in there then.
Yeah.
Yeah, granular pitch shifter, that's sick. There's definitely like granular stuff in there. That's fun. Although that didn't sound as good as some of the other granular stuff. Like the phaser in there sounds sick as fuck. Like it sounds really nice and rich. So I like flanging and phasing. So it's nice to have like really good ones that are complementary to the effects aid ones. Multi-chorus, like not as much, that one not as interesting. Oh yeah, they just have an algorithm called dual mono, and that has like a low pass filter, all these different filter types: ring mod, phase shifter, phaser, flanger, diffuser. Oh yeah, the one diffuser is crazy. Diffusion flanger, that's fucking wild. I don't even know how you describe it. It's like a smeary granular reverb almost that's also a flanger like working with it, and it just gets you to like these kind of FFT type territories that were interesting, but like I don't even know how to imagine what it does. I just run into shit when I use it, like
Sounds awesome.
oh dude, it's fucking great. Like I had high hopes for it and then I got it and was like, fuck, I'm down,
Yeah. I was trying to chill on effects for now, but I got beads and Hyperion on my hit list for whenever I could start buying modules again. Like both of them are just like top of the list now. Could you do like Rainmaker type shit in here? Because since you can stack effects, can you do like comb filter into like tap delay or tap delay into comb? Nothing
you can
like that? No?
you can only stack effects within those simple ones. Otherwise, you only get one. Yeah, it's just
Gotcha.
one stereo. That would be that's one thing that the higher end Eventide stuff obviously has, like being able to do multi effects. This is just like one at a time outside of that dual mono shit. That's what the Hyperion's like, the perfect blend of something that has multiple uses, and like you can just sit it on one and there's no confusion about what the fuck you're doing on it at any point. There's no like, oh, I wish I could just get to this more easily, The H9 is all that. It's all like, I'm going to go through this list of parameters one by one, and even with the knob box on it, it's still just like a fucking lookup table, it just gets old. Yeah, that's again why I decided I've got this FX aid printout like right above my modular, and I'm just going to roll with the original 32. It's not broken. I don't give a fuck about the filters. Like, I'm just going to use it.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying that I'm going to try some of the new ones, but I haven't, and I'm still very stoked on what they do.
Yeah.
And likewise, I have it printed. It's on the bottom of my 7U case taped. Like,
Nice.
I don't know. I want to try it just because I think it's. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm like. I think maybe there's a little bit of like, well, I can do it. I should try it. That's how you get the most out of it. Like, no, it isn't.
There's this thing that trips me up about it because I was actually gonna update it the other night, but I think you've got to use the FX aid app, right, to get the firmware.
Yeah.
But
you check which one you want, and you basically configure a set on your own.
That's the thing. I don't want to do that. You can't even. It doesn't even give you like, here are the 32 defaults. Every time you go to get the firmware, it's like, well, you got to pick your 32, and it's like, well, that's not what I'm here for today. I just want to update the fucking firmware, But I don't know. It's a minor thing, but I'm just that lazy in that regard, or at least I don't want to deal with it.
I'm not disappointed enough in what I have to go seek something else out. Yeah. So you were mentioning having, H9, even if it was all surfaced with a bunch of knobs, that could segue into 60 knobs.
Oh shit.
So Nick and I have both made these.
And I'm sitting here extremely jealous.
So I was already like wildly. I mean, I gushed about the LXR in a recent episode because I finally got off my ass and made mine. And this just turned what I thought was already a 10 out of 10 into a 15 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking jealous, dude.
It's also like the LXR was great and it sounded good and I was getting a lot out of it. This did that, and now it's in the, I rarely use this word because I'm not really into this. I'm just gonna let you know before I say it. But and so like it was also kind of uncomfortable a little, but I was having fun using this, and it was like this weird sensation, and I didn't really know how to deal with it at first, and like I kind of thought like there was something wrong because I was like I'm not familiar with this sensation.
What's happening to me?
What is this?
Oh wait, no wait, this might just be what they call fun, and I'm having it. Yeah, just holy shit, and it was a fun build, like it was straightforward. And
Very fun build.
You just plug it in and it's fucking there. And even the one decision that I thought was a little bit odd at first, because the top row doesn't start with coarse. It doesn't start like the top knob isn't coarse. And I was like, oh, because that's probably what you're just going to have on the LXR itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what your 4 knobs, like if you just have the default screen for the kick drum, that like there's no reason to recreate those 4.
Correct. Yeah.
In the 60. So basically you have 64 knobs.
Yeah.
True.
I was like, fuck you everyone. This is brilliant.
Yeah, the build was super well documented, like the way to it's just all it was fun to build.
Yeah.
And it works really well. Like I actually like kind of love, for as much as I don't like acrylic cases, it's kind of sick. You know?
I was also a little bit like, oh, and it doesn't match the cool metal case that I have for the LXR, but no, I got over it pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if someone made a cool black metal case for 60 knobs, I would buy it without even thinking. But yeah, no, I have no complaints about this, and there's not a lot of lights. It just fucking works.
Yeah, and you can pick your height too. You can pick the LXR height or the smaller height, which is kind of a nice touch.
And I went with the LXR so that they match up. And I even screwed with the editor just to see if it worked. And yeah, it was really straightforward to change. But yeah, no, this is 60 knobs, like 60,000 thumbs up from me.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Sigh.
Well, the other reason I wanted to bring this up too, Greg, was like, if you do find an LXR and you don't find a built 60 knobs, I mean,
something I could bang out.
Oh yeah.
My sausage fingers could handle soldering this together. I thought you came across a hurdle though, with the capacitors or something.
Oh, that was entirely my fault because they didn't label there was resistors, and
gotcha.
it was I looked at the colors, got the color code, checked them on a meter, and put them aside. I'm like, okay, those are the 220Rs. These are the 100Ks. I'm ready to go. And sure enough, started soldering, started putting them in, and I fucked it up. I couldn't get mad, and I unsoldered it, put them in the right one, and but thank you, Greg, for bringing up that shameful part of mine.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I know if you come across something that tripped you up, then I'm probably gonna totally fuck it up because I'm just not that good at building things. But
I think you got this. I think you got
it.
I'm jelly. I missed my LXR, and when I sold it, 60 knobs hadn't been released yet. And it didn't look like it was gonna come out at any point. It was just looked like vaporware at that point. Like it was just something that was rumored that maybe it would happen someday. And the fact that it actually exists now and is obtainable, I'm like eating my heart out. And I want an LXR back with 60 knobs at some point. But
mine sat in a box for 4 years before it actually got built.
Really?
I bought that shit right when it came out, basically. I just never did it.
Wow. You having fun with it too? Or?
Oh yeah, it's fucking great. Like it's right next to it. There's like I can't imagine using it without it now. I use the decimation way more now because it's more like, oh, what's this gonna do? Whereas that was a parameter I would never go to before.
That was one of my favorite parameters actually.
Oh, yeah?
It pissed me off that you have to dive so deep to hit it. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
into the menu.
That's why I never went there.
Greg,
Same
guess
with the
what?
overdrive. Like
Guess what?
all the way at the end there. What?
You don't do that anymore.
Nah.
60 knob. It's all right there. All right there in the fucking
All right
knob.
there at your fingertips.
That's the thing. I use both the overdrives and the sample rate reduction a good bit, but not the decimation. That one I never did, but now I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have an LXR and you don't have one, you got to get one.
Yeah, that's it, really.
Will it make you sound like Alessandro Cortini, though?
Probably not.
It won't.
Because it doesn't have those touch
I don't
pads.
know if I'm interested then. Thank you.
Also, everything is labeled correctly and explains what it does.
Stupid.
Yeah.
It should really just be a peanut butter sandwich that you rub around and it says like Kangarooville, you know.
This is the Platypus Knob.
Make Noise Platypus sandwich.
You want to know what it does? Twist it and find out, bitch.